Hello, my name is Kiriath, and today we are going to finish yesterday's video where we went through the Horus Heresy character series and dealt with the non-Primarchs. We also didn't deal with the demons, but that's because that is an entire other video where we'll cover the demons and other gribbly things, and it was pointed out that a few people were missing. Now, I recorded that video quite a while ago, back when I did the Primarchs one, and I just did not twig, I just did not realise that Typhon and Raldoron weren't in there. Now, that is because they do not show up under that filter on Forge World for some reason. When I filter it by Horus Heresy and then character series, they're just not in the list, and I think because I recorded those videos on the same day, I think I just didn't twig that they were not there. And that's bad. That's bad for a multitude of reasons, not least because how do you rank the whole range if there are people missing out of it, but also because, specifically in the case of Typhon would be right up there near the top. The fact that I didn't even twig is really bad because I love this model. I think my brain must have just been melting that day, but Typhon is a fantastic model. I think he is right up there for me. I'd say he's probably, honestly, just after Sevatar. If I'm being completely honest, which makes missing him out even more baffling and bizarre, but there you go. It's so good. It is such a good model. For a start, it is perfectly representative of the mental image of the Death Guard that's presented. When it talks about them just sort of wading into battle, just taking fire but not going down, just inexorably marching forth. Typhon's model is a great example of that. I think the pose works super well. He's obviously aiming with the wrist-mounted gun whilst holding the scythe to the back. The armour is just the right amount of kind of augmented. It still looks totally functional. It's not too fancy, but it's clearly modified. There's some extra stuff going on there which does a lot to add character. It's just a really, really good model. I think this is one of those ones where I don't have any complaints at all. I have to admit, when I first saw it, I wasn't 100% on the pose, but I've kind of grown to appreciate it. Especially that head-on angle. That head-on angle is really good. It is quite a strong but purposeful pose for me. Overall, it's a really solid model, and I have to say the reworking of his 40k model, the newer version of that, I do not like nearly as much as this version. You know, if I was ever to make some sort of Typhus, I would take this model and do stuff to it, because this feels more threatening, it feels more weighty. There's like an unstoppable quality to this. It's just really well sculpted. It looks really good. So yeah, Typhon is way up there. Really, really like Typhon a lot. Okay, now Raldoron I've actually grown to quite like. If I remember correctly, I wasn't too sure when we first saw his model, but I've kind of come to appreciate it a bit more. The paint scheme on him specifically is a bit strange for me. It doesn't really, I feel like it doesn't massively match the other schemes that we've seen for the Blood Angels in the Horus Heresy, which does throw things off slightly, but there's some nice detail on the armour. It's not quite as fancy as maybe it could be, but then again, it's also not massively cluttered either, so there's kind of something to be said for taking a more balanced approach. The only issues that I really have with it, the only issues that I really, really have, is the cleaning the blood off the blade of the sword. Everything else is decent for me. I mean, I really like that detailing on the power pack. The decoration that's gone on there is nice. The added detail on the combi flamer there and on his shoulder pad. I like the way it's sculpted. As I say, the paint feels a bit strange, but I'm not really sure why. It just doesn't quite match, I don't think. My main issue with this model is that kind of mid-blade clean pose. I mean, poses can make or break models for me, and I wouldn't say this one breaks this model, but there's just a couple of things that I don't like about what they've done with that specific aspect. Firstly, the way that the the way that he's cleaning that blade, I don't know, the way the cloth is being held almost makes it look like there is hardly any blood on one side of the sword, but there's a ton of blood on the other side. Which is a little bit odd because there's an entire demon arm on the ground next to him, which you would assume would make quite a bit of mess when you're hacking it off. I've never chopped someone's arm off, and I've never cleaved the arm of a demon in twain or anything like that, so perhaps my assumption as to how much blood would come out of such an endeavour is not strictly accurate, but it feels like there'd be a lot, and there just isn't. The stuff that is coming off the sword is a bit thick and a bit goopy in a not necessarily good way. I don't know, it just feels a bit off, it feels a bit weird. It doesn't look quite right. There's also the fact that you can't do anything else with it. I mean, I'm not entirely sure. In fact, let's have a quick look and see if we can work out where are the joins. Where are the joins? Because that could be a deciding factor in whether you can mess with this. You can't mess with it, can you? No. So the cloth and the blood are attached to the sword directly via the hand, which then is attached to the wrist of that arm. So you couldn't clean the sword up. I mean, maybe you could clean the sword up. Maybe you could clean it up. It'd be fiddly, and you'd have to be brave, but maybe you'd be able to clean the sword up. Angle the other arm so that he's raising it. Oh, possibly. Oh, I'm not sure I'd want to try that though. That would be brave. That would be a brave man who attempts that. Someone probably has. But yeah, it's the cleaning of the blade aspect that really just doesn't quite work for me, which is a shame because I actually quite like the rest of the model now. But it's just that one bit, it just doesn't look quite right to my eyes. And it really does look like that would be an absolute pain in the backside to change. Really would. As I say, it's a bit of a shame because I like the reinforcing studs on one of the shins, the mask and blood drops that are on the rest of the armour. Actually pretty nicely done. There's some nice detail sculpted onto here. Just that pose is not quite what I would want. Not quite what I'd want. Other than that though, decent model. I'd say kind of upper middling in terms of placement. It's not bad. It's also not one of my favourites. It's it's okay. It's not down there, but it's not up there either. Now next up, it's got to be Saul. However, Saul and Quinzar are both solid middling to lower. Now, in Saul's case, this is because, much though I love the fact that Saul has got a model, I mean, Saul Tarvitz is the best boy, and I will have no argument on that. It feels like he could be a bit more fancy. It feels like he could be a bit more fancy. He's already pretty fancy, and we don't have a 360-degree view yet. He's not on the Forge World site, so we can't rotate him, spin him around, and see what else is going on. But I just feel like that little bit extra, just that added touch. Also, in this specific case, there's like a weird, just on that shin guard there, where the 3rd Legion icon is. It's not been painted quite fully, so it sort of looks like the detail isn't that crisp, but I think it is. I'm assuming that the detail is pretty crisp. It's just that's been missed a little bit. Overall, Saul Tarvitz does look decent. I would like to see his full base, see what he's like, whether he's got like a proper scenic base. That would be nice to know. It's a little hard to tell without spinning him all the way around, but I'd put him solid kind of middle. It's just we'll call it a what is the word? Like a preliminary ranking, because until we can get the full 360 view and really take a gander at him, it might be unfair to place him that low. There might be some really quality stuff going on, especially with like the cloak. He does have a cloak on, and we can't really see any detail for it because of the angle of the picture. But he does have his foot on a rock, which is a little disheartening. because it's just the standard easy pose to make someone look impressive, isn't it? Just stick the foot on a rock, have them stand there looking leadery, which is fine, it works, but it's not hugely imaginative. Overall he's decent. And the fact is, it's Saul Tarvitz and he's got a model, and that by itself is important and something to celebrate. Now, I go back and forth on this one. I really do go back and forth on it. There are aspects of this model that I really, really like. The decoration on the armor plates is really, really nice. Like on the shins there, it looks really cool. On the chest, there's some nice engraving stuff going on. The icon over the top of the armor, like over the carapace on it, is really solid. I really like that. The shoulders, I kind of go back and forth on. Sometimes I think I really like them, and other times they look a bit clunky and out of place. I can't really decide which is the overriding feel for that. It could be either, depending on the day. I can't really get a decent handle on whether I like them or not. The helmet, again, it's a similar thing. I just can't make my mind up whether I like it or really dislike it. I think because it's so completely dissimilar to any other helm that you might find in Terminator armor. It's so personalized. It's so custom to that particular character. I find myself like just instinctively thinking, oh, but it looks wrong because it's not the right helmet. It's not the right helmet. It looks weird. But then that is part of it. It's a hugely customized suit of armor. You can clearly see that. And so in that context, it's like, okay, well, that's fine, but it's like that kind of initial glance every time I'm like, oh, that looks weird. Oh, no, it's fine. Oh, is it fine though? I just go back and forth. Over and over. There are some really nice elements to this. Like the White Scars iconography that's on this model is really nicely done. There is some nice detail on those extra bits of armor. I never know what it's called. The bit that's going down from the waist. Not the cloth, the armor bit. The detail of like the kind of ropes holding that together, I think is nicely done and pretty decently picked out and painted there as well. Same thing with the shoulders. This feels like a model that there's been a lot of care and attention put into it, and I think it really, really shows. It's just some aspects of it I cannot decide which way I lean on it, whether I like it or whether I dislike it. It's a kind of a constant struggle of sure, yeah, I think I like that. Well, I don't know, it's that, but over and over and over again. I just cannot make up my mind. But it's clearly something that I think has been sculpted well, and I do like the pose, I do like the base as well. It's a cool base. Overall, I've got to give it the thumbs up overall and put it like square middling, because I don't hate it, I don't like dislike it. It's not like I don't look at it and think, oh, what is this edgy nonsense, like Erebus, for instance. I don't have like the just cold reaction of, I mean, sure, I just don't care. I just can't quite decide. Sometimes you get a model like that though, and then one day it clicks and you go, oh, I hate it. Although sometimes other way around. Be interesting to see which one that is. Maybe once we've got that 360 view. That'll be when I finally make a decision. Yeah. Anyway, let's go back to Typhon, because look at him. Legend. Bit of a heretic, but who isn't? Who isn't these days? That is the culmination of yesterday's video. I apologise for having to put a second part out, although I think, that would make that video like 40 minutes long or something. I don't know. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know where you would place this lot in your personal ranking. And let me know what you think in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon, subscribe, all that stuff. You know the drill. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.